Good afternoon. It's Kyle Babcock here with Local Talk. I'm on the phone with Indiana Secretary of State Connie Lawson, who I consider one of the best, if not the best, Secretary of States in the whole United States. Her work on election security through the 2016 election and moving forward, and plus all her previous work on election security has been very, very important. Welcome, Indiana Secretary of State Connie Lawson, to Local Talk. It's a pleasure and my pleasure to have you on today.
Well, thank you, Kyle. I'm glad to be with you.
Connie, let's just dig right into this and let's just jump right in. With the 2016 election, there were all these allegations, whether they were true, whether they weren't true. But let's talk about what you've done and what your office has done for election security across the state of Indiana. And maybe another question we can talk about is your role nationally. But let's talk about in Indiana what's going on with your office and election security around the state of Indiana.
Well, Kyle, 2016 was a mile marker for election security. You know, we've always been concerned about election security and integrity, but 2016 certainly shined the light on election security. So Indiana immediately went to work, and we instituted some things that the FBI said was the most important things we could do. The first thing is we now require anybody who has access to the statewide voter registration system, whether it's the Secretary of State's office, the election division, or county clerks, county employees, they all have to use a multi-factor access to enter. So they have a password, and they also have a token that they have to insert. So, and that was one of the biggest protections that was recommended by the FBI. The other thing we have done is we became a pilot state early on, but now every state has a Internet intrusion detection system. They're called Albert sensors, and they detect nefarious Internet traffic, and they give us a warning when we need to harden our systems that somebody's trying to get in. So that's been very important. In this past session, the legislature understood how important election security is, and they actually appropriated the money. We will be doing a pilot coming up very quickly. We'll probably, I'd say, half a dozen, maybe 7 or 8 counties will be in the pilot, and we will have an Internet intrusion detection system for the counties. And then by October of 2020 is our goal to have one of those detection systems for every county in the state of Indiana. And then, of course, we've been increasing security protocols, like doing phishing email campaigns, so that the people who have access to statewide voter registration know how to recognize a phishing email, because that's the way most of the nefarious activity takes place. Is somebody clicks on a phishing link, and then that malware is inserted onto a computer, which then infects a system. So we've done that, and we've also increased our password protocols. We don't use just passwords anymore. We use passphrases with spaces and asterisks and exclamation marks and spaces. And honestly, I have to tell you, as somebody who's had to use a password to get into the state system for a number of years, I think passphrases are actually easier. It's easier for me to remember because we do force a reset of those passwords on a frequent basis as well. So those are the things that we've done prior to the session. I mentioned the budget appropriation, which I was very excited to get for our counties. And then the Senate Bill 570, Kyle did a lot of work as increasing physical and cybersecurity as well.
Wow. I can just say, wow. I mean, hearing all that certainly gives voters and residents of Indiana the confidence in our system. I mean, obviously our forefathers fought for the right to vote. I mean, this is really, really a big deal what you've done. My goodness. Connie, is this something that you took initiative on your own, or is this through other Secretary of States across the country? And kind of what's your role nationally on this? Are other states doing this, or is this just something that you're leading on in Indiana?
Well, I was very fortunate to become the president of the National Association of Secretaries of State in 2017, that summer, so just 6 months after the 2016 elections. So I did become very involved on the national level. Was a member of the executive committee of the Government Coordinating Council. That was the council that set up the parameters around the election infrastructure being designated as critical infrastructure. Obviously, I became very concerned when that designation first took place, but since that time, the Secretaries of State have worked really hard with the Department of Homeland Security, FBI, other organizations to make sure that there's no federal overreach, but the communication between federal government and the states has certainly improved. I was able to get my national secret security clearance, and I will tell you that I've learned a lot since I was able to get that, and I think it's crucial. And Homeland Security has worked hard, and every secretary that wants that clearance has got that now. So that was an important step, because originally Department of Homeland Security was putting out messages about 21 states, were targeted, but they wouldn't tell the secretaries because the secretaries didn't own the equipment. And so now that we have our secret clearance, we can get that information, which we need, if something. In fact, this week, Kyle, I have been to 3 Association of Indiana Counties meetings, traveling the state, from Shelbyville, then I was in Plymouth, and I was in Columbia City last night. Next week we'll be in Greencastle. I'm sorry, week after next, because next week is the election. We're going to skip next week.
Yes.
We might be a little busy. We'll be in Greencastle, in Huntingburg, and Lawrence, Indiana as well. And what I've been doing is talking to the counties about the importance of, if they believe they're under a cyber attack, they need to call the Indiana State Police. They have a great cyber unit there. They will respond promptly. They will know whether or not the FBI needs to be contacted or Department of Homeland Security needs to be contacted. And then that way, if something happens in one county, the state knows that we need to take extra precautions to protect the statewide voter registration system, and inform the other 91 counties that, hey, this happened in a county in Indiana, and you need to be looking for this. So we've been working really hard traveling the state to get those messages out as well.
Again, wow, I'm so impressed. I mean, what I really like about our conversation today is it's very thorough. You know what you're doing. You have a fantastic staff. And plus, you've been elected official yourself besides the Secretary of State, so you understand how important this is, and I just am really impressed, and I'm thankful that you could take your time today. I know we've got election in Indiana coming up on Tuesday, May the 7th, and I know how busy you are, and I really appreciate you taking, a time, 10 minutes of your time today to talk to me on the Local Talk. What I'd like to do, Connie, is maybe after the election, what we can do is maybe after you get done doing all this traveling around with this, maybe 2 or 3 weeks from now, what we can do is we can kind of do a recap and see how everything went. And I'm 99.9% sure, 100% sure everything's going to be fine. But what you have planned and just prepared for is just fantastic. But I just want to say thank you to you. You're a marvelous person. I consider you a friend, but it's even more fun to talk to you on something that really is something near and dear to you and near and dear to the people across the state of Indiana, across the country. I can just say thank you, Connie. I appreciate it so much, you taking your time.
Well, you're welcome, Kyle, and thanks to everybody, and I hope that they all turn out to vote on May 7th if they live in a municipality.
You've been listening to Local Talk, Indiana Secretary of State Connie Lawson. She has just been a marvelous guest. We'll be back again next week. Thank you for listening.